It is my honor and privilege to present the Samuel C. Wheeler Freedom Awards to Harry Wilson.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you, Judge Alexander, Marie, Meredith, Attorney General Rosenblum, Senator Merkley, for your support for DePaul Treatment Centers. When I was a kid, my mom told me that the daffodils bloomed on the day that I was born. And so when I would ride my skateboard down the driveway at our house and see the daffodils in the dirt by the side of the road, I would have this really nice feeling, like I was special. I had my first drink at 18, and I remember that feeling too. I remember that feeling perfectly. I remember the wave of endorphins crashing across my body and the enveloping feeling of relief and the sweet, sharp pain of alcohol going down my throat. That drink and the next one and the one after that, they made me feel special. They made me feel like a flower blooming. When I took that drink, that first drink, I felt like I was feeling the warmth of the sun for the first time. I went to college in the fall, and I chased that feeling. On the first day in the dorms, I got so drunk that my roommates had to carry me home. I started by drinking on Fridays and Saturdays, and then I drank on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I ate hallucinogenic mushrooms, smoked pot, snorted coke and Special K. I smoked crack out of a tin can. My senior year, I took a handful of Xanax and methadone and fell asleep while I was smoking a cigarette on a couch. When I woke up, the fire alarm was going off, the couch was on fire. I left the burnt-out couch in my dorm room for 3 weeks. And I didn't graduate. When I moved to DC in 1999 at the age of 22, I went to the bar every night, often until 2 a.m., and I started using cocaine regularly. When I woke up 2 years later on a Tuesday morning in the bedroom of my coke dealer's house, I couldn't go to work. But I had this CD. I had a CD of Janis Joplin's greatest hits, and I put it in the CD player, and I listened to the song Down on Me over and over and over again that morning. Janis sings, "It looks like everybody in the whole round world, they're down on me." And that's what I felt like. I called my parents and told them that I had to come home. I went to my first AA meeting not long after. I was 24, and I kind of got it for a little while. I kind of figured out what sobriety was about and maybe how you do the little pieces of recovery. But through all the meetings, I was sitting on the edge of my chair because I just wanted to be back out there drinking. And so I took off. I went to Boston, and I started drinking again. I managed to be sober now and then for a little while. I got enough time sober to finish college, and I would go in and I would go out. But in the end, I ended up crashing my car into a light pole and getting banned from bars and even wetting my bed. And so I moved to Portland, and in the end, even those crazy stories disappeared, because the end of drinking isn't a crazy story about getting banned from a bar. It's just the same story over and over again, day in and day out. I stopped leaving my apartment, and for the last 5 months, I stayed drunk almost all the time. I duct taped a blanket across my windows so that I wouldn't know whether it was day or night. And in the winter of 2006, I was arrested for DUI. My blood alcohol was 3 times the legal limit. I went through withdrawal in jail. When I was released the next day, I went back to my apartment and I got drunk again. I sold everything I loved to afford alcohol, bikes and books and CDs. And when that wasn't enough, I stole money and drugs and alcohol from stores and dealers and friends. In the occasional moment when I had a bit of lucidity, if I accidentally got sober for a day or two, I would feel overwhelmed with guilt and shame and disgust. And the only thing I could do to feel better was drink more. That early feeling of the flower blooming, the petals opening up and reaching for the sky, that was long, long gone, and everything just felt like rot and waste. Addiction is a deadly, chronic, relapsing disease. There is no cure, and fewer than 10% of people with substance use disorder will achieve anything like constant abstinence from drug use. You are twice as likely to survive brain cancer. For me and most people with substance use disorder, it's simply not possible to decide not to drink. When we think of addiction, we often think of people making bad decisions when they're using, like deciding to drive or to hurt someone or to steal something. But addiction is much more powerful than just that. Addiction damages your ability to make rational decisions even when you're sober. If you asked most people, do you want to drink a liter of vodka tonight? Well, that's probably an easy no. Among other reasons, there's a cost-benefit analysis that just doesn't pencil out. Most people have to go to work in the morning. They have to drive the kids to school. They care about their health. For a person with substance use disorder, there is no cost-benefit analysis. It's not that we don't care about our health or our families or our jobs. It's that the disease makes it impossible for us to understand how doing one thing will cost us the other. And it's even a little worse than that, because addiction operates at a very, very deep level. The disease doesn't just compel its victims to take a drink, it sets the board so that the decision is easy. When I was stringing together a few months of sobriety in my mid-20s, I found myself living a lonely, disconnected life. I wasn't seeing friends or getting involved in social activities. I was sitting at home watching TV. That isolation was the disease working. The disease isolated me so that when it came time to decide whether to take a drink again or not, the decision was easy because I wouldn't have a reason to say no. What that means is that recovery is just not drinking. It's building a whole new life. It's building a whole new life that gives you a reason not to use. On April 3, 2006, I didn't take a drink. I went through withdrawals for 48 hours, and then I went to a meeting, and that meeting led to another meeting in the basement of DePaul Treatment Centers. For me to recover, I had to build a whole new life. I needed to be born again. I needed to bloom towards a new light. When I sat in the basement of DePaul in the summer of 2006, I knew that I had found a community that could be that light. I felt the collective power of tens of thousands of individuals who had suffered and hurt, but who had been given a new chance to love and recover by DePaul. DePaul is an amazing place for providing evidence-based treatment that helps thousands of individuals every year, but it is also an amazing place because it creates and nurtures a community of recovery that touches not just DePaul's patients, but everyone around it. For almost every day since 2006, I have felt the community of DePaul, and I feel it especially here with you today. More than 13 years after I first visited, I still feel a rush of excitement when I open the doors and walk into the lobby. And year after year, I am able to grow and bloom through its light and guidance. DePaul Treatment Centers gave me a whole new life, and it gave me a reason not to drink. I'm also fortunate and privileged enough to have many more reasons not to drink, because I have an amazing and tremendous group of family and friends. Before all others are my parents, Anne and Harry. When I was shivering in a bed in my childhood home, sick with withdrawals, they sat next to me. They did not judge me, and they never stopped loving me. And for that, I'm very thankful. Thank you also to my brother and sister, Sam and Lucy, for taking it all in stride no matter what, and to Aunt Beth Ann, Aunt Lucy and Uncle David, and Cousin Jamie for cheering me on the whole way. Thank you to David Black and Brian Daly, who I treated terribly sometimes, but who saw me at my worst and forgave me, and who are still and will always be my best friends. To Brett Catani, without your friendship for the last 14 years, I couldn't be here. Your example has inspired me to live a life of service to others. Thank you to Judge Michael Simon, who took a chance on me when my resume said he definitely should not. To Dave Markowitz and Peter Glade, who gave me an opportunity to build a career. Thank you to Anna Joyce, who has been my mentor and my friend. I go to work in the morning because I get to work with you. And thank you especially to Lisa Kainer, who taught me everything that matters about being a lawyer. The years I worked with you were the most professionally rewarding of my career. Thank you to my law firm, Markowitz Herbold, for being a great place to work and for supporting and contributing to Paul Treatment Centers year after year. Thank you to everyone at DePaul, everyone here in this room, my fellow board members, and especially to Jay Miner, who has been my friend for a decade. Thank you to Kathleen Riss, who brought me into the DePaul family, and to Laura Fry and Andrea Claypool and everyone else at DePaul who put on this incredible event. Thank you to Marie Wacker for being my partner and our leader as we strive to create freedom from addiction. And thank you to my friends who inspire and support me. You are my community of recovery. Dave, Sarah, Colin, Kimry, Amy, and Shira for coming from so far. For Rahul and Dill, Hillary, Alana, Maggie, Jim, I'm gonna read a bunch of names, Jenny, Nick and Jenny, Cliff and Andy, Misha and David, Eric and Sophia, Chris and Lauren, Ann Chapman, Bill Dickey, Ann Hyatt and her lovely daughter Doris, Janet Hoffman and John Harland, Andrew Rowe and Bennett Burns, Judge Stefan Alexander, Stephen Carroll Higgins, Meredith and Peter, and everyone else who has come here to support me and DePaul today. And most of all, an extra special thank you to Brina Milikowski. You make my world bigger and me better every day. I'm not done because there's one more thing. I was born into tremendous privilege. When I took that first gasp of air and opened my eyes to the light for the first time, I was born white and wealthy, male and straight. I was born into a family that loved me and loved each other. I am able to stand before you today and tell you that I have smoked crack and driven drunk and stolen from my friends because I have the privilege of having your benefit of the doubt. The single most important thing I can tell you today is that I am not in recovery because I am stronger or better than those who still suffer. Addiction is not a moral failing or weakness. I am no more moral or strong than anyone else. Whether they are still suffering an addiction or not, whether they are housed or unhoused, no matter their gender or race or place of origin. The me you see here is just one half of me. This is the good parts on display. But for every bit of generosity I express, there is an equal part of greed. For all that I am compassionate, I am callous. For all that I am kind, I am mean. I am brave, but I am also very, very scared. The pieces of me are like the teeth on two sides of a zipper, one tooth for happiness and one for sadness, one for hope and one for despair. And if I were to drink again, all that you would see is the other half. And so it goes for all of us with addiction. Everyone you meet who is still suffering from addiction has within them as much good as bad. And everyone you meet who is just beginning their recovery has as much potential to succeed as me. I am on this stage because I was born with a foundation from which to take the first steps. DePaul's mission is to give everyone a foundation, regardless of who they are, where they come from, what they can pay, or how they identify. DePaul saved my life. I want you to help it save someone else's. Thank you.